About 1 in 5 American workers now needs a government license to do their job. Who do you think that system ends up helping the most?
My gut says the workers who hold the licenses, but the way you're asking makes me think the answer's more lopsided than that.
It is. A new paper looked at 4 decades of data, figuring out exactly where those gains pile up. Now, on the Cause and Effect Show.
First, let's start with definitions. What exactly is occupational licensing?
It's a law that says you legally can't practice a profession unless you meet standards the state sets. Education, exams, fees. It started with doctors and lawyers, but by 2022, about 21.7% of U.S. workers were in licensed jobs.
1 in 5. So how does having a license matter?
Recent research looks at the licensing premium, the earnings gap between licensed and unlicensed workers who otherwise look the same. Same age, education, union status. If that premium grows, the gap between licensed and unlicensed workers is widening.
And did it grow?
Modestly, yes. Over the whole period, it didn't shrink, it crept up, which already tells you something. The barriers didn't erode, so licensed workers kept their edge.
Okay, but that's the gap between groups. What about inequality among licensed workers themselves?
That's where it gets sharper. The premium went up a lot for high-paying licensed occupations, think physicians, dentists, pharmacists, but barely moved for middle and low-paying ones.
So the license is worth more and more if you're already near the top, and not much if you're near the bottom.
Exactly, and you can see it in the spread. Among licensed workers, the standard inequality measures, the 90-to-10 ratio, the Gini coefficient, rose more than they did for workers overall.
Let's put that in plain English.
Picture all licensed workers lined up from lowest to highest earner. Over these decades, the distance between the top and the bottom of that line stretched out faster than it did for everyone else.
Why would licensing do that? I'd have guessed a license is a license.
It comes down to 2 forces meeting. Demand for high skill and healthcare work shot up, and at the same time, the entry requirements for those fields kept ratcheting up. Longer programs, more exams, extra degrees.
So when demand rises but the door stays narrow, the people already inside capture the gains.
That's the mechanism. A licensed plumber faces steady demand, but the door isn't getting much narrower. A specialist physician faces rising demand and a door that keeps getting harder to walk through. The premium concentrates there.
And here's the part I want to push on. Does licensing at least help workers who usually get a raw deal? Women, workers without a degree?
That's the most sobering finding. Historically, licensing did carry a bigger premium for those groups. It can act as a signal of competence or a clean record when an employer can't easily judge it. So it leveled the field a bit. It used to, but that advantage for women and for workers without a college degree shrank over the decades. The equalizing effect licensing once had for them faded.
How confident are they that licensing is doing this, and not just everything else happening in the economy?
Fair question. They control for education, demographics, and union status, and they run a stack of checks. Different occupation lists, a separate data set, even opticians, who are licensed in some states but not others, as a natural comparison. The pattern holds. So step back, and the picture is a little uncomfortable. We often defend licensing as protection for ordinary workers and consumers. This evidence suggests that over the last 40 years, it's mostly widened the gap between licensed and unlicensed workers, and especially among licensed workers themselves.
And the groups it once helped the most, women, people without degrees, are exactly the ones whose advantage faded.
Which doesn't mean every license is bad. Some clearly protect health and safety. It means we should be honest that licensing isn't neutral on inequality. When we add a new requirement, we're often handing the biggest gains to people who are already near the top.
So the real question isn't just, does this license keep people safe, but who does it quietly reward, and who does it leave outside the door?
Our goal with this channel is simple. Take real causal research and make it easy to understand. If that's something you want more of, subscribing is the single biggest help. Please hit like, leave a comment, and check out the rest of the channel. We have more insights like this coming out every week.